You made the heavens, planted the earth, gave us stars for direction. But what was it worth if we don't have love? Oh, your perfect love. You filled the oceans, painted the sky, gave us each other. So tell me why, why we're lacking love. Oh, why we're lacking love. Oh, can't you see the darkness trying to divide? Yeah, you know it's up to us to keep shining bright and let our hearts stay lifted high. Oh, can't you see the darkness trying to divide? My Lord, you know it's up to us to keep shining bright and let our hearts stay lifted high. Oh, you can prophesy, speak in the tongues you made, but if you don't have compassion, how will they understand that we were made from love? Oh, we were made from love. Oh, yeah. Oh, can't you see the darkness trying to divide? My Lord, you know it's up to us to keep shining bright and let our hearts stay lifted high. Oh, can't you see the darkness trying to divide? Oh, you know it's up to us to keep shining bright and let our hearts stay lifted high. Time to spread more love. Oh, perfect love, supernatural love. Your love.
Welcome, Spirituality Wild. Thank you, True Osborne, for always starting our day with supernatural love. And I love that. And oh my God, it's time for Cuppa Grata with a shot of expression and 2 squirts of reality. I'm going to welcome my co-squirty, Peter!
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. We are going to have such a blast today. For all you that are jumping on right now, we're going to get into some healing. First, we're going to get into a near-death experience and then into some of the most incredible healing that I think is available on the planet today. You're going to have a blast with this. Plus, there's a way for you to shine at Cuppa Grata time. I'm just Peter, how's it going?
Good morning. You're hilarious. I'm pouring myself. You're taking a sip of that coffee. I'm pouring myself some tea.
Well, I got
my tea.
Well, I'm glad. Well, cup of tea, Cuppa Grata, baby. We got this rocking and rolling. So
you guys
listen to this. His website, convergencehealing.com, which I'll put up across the screen here in a minute. He says, this is Peter Bedard. Yes? Did I say that correctly? Thank you.
Bedard.
Bedard.
Close enough. Yeah. If you're really French and you're a Francophile, then it's Je suis Pierre Bedard.
Huh?
It's Pierre Bedard.
Ooh, that's pretty.
But Bedard is fine. My name is great in every other language but English.
Oh my God.
It really is. My name in English is Peter Albert Bedard. That's my name, Peter Albert Bedard, right? In French, it's Pierre Albert. In Spanish, it's Pedro Alberto, right? In every other language,
that's like hot and sexy, dude. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, total.
In English, it's really not.
Yeah, well, Hey, I like that. I'm kind of between the French and the Spanish way, both.
Right?
Yeah,
Right.
I don't even know. They're both pretty hot. But check this out. He writes this, what his about his, and I'm going to read it in his voice. It says, I've been reflecting on what an amazing day I just had. I'm so blessed to be in a place I'm so blessed to be in a place where I can assist people in creating life altering changes in the world and, most importantly, within themselves. You know how impossible it seems to heal at times? How some people live in fear and never being able to heal and end up relying on drugs, surgery to help them survive? Yeah, we do. Well, that was me. I healed myself of everything from chronic anxiety to arthritis, asthma, fibromyalgia, depression, sciatica, chronic allergies, constant pain, and I died. Yep, you read that right. Came back to a broken body and a mind trapped in fear and a broken spirit. And I'm going to actually stop there. Y'all can go to the website and you can finish reading that incredible story. But we're going to get into your near death experience. And then we're going to get into the healing that you're now doing because I'm excited. I actually know a little bit about this already. You guys are in for a real treat. And I'm just going to shift you around here real quick. All right. So let's go back to the days when you were young and you were a dancer, and there was a night that something really just unbelievable happened for you. But let's just let you tell that story. Let's go back to your dancing days.
Sure. So I was so blessed. I was the kid that I started out in children's theater and I did one show, I think, in children's theater. And then I was immediately in the adult shows. So some of my first productions had 5,000 seat audiences. So I was used to this level of performance. And I had a lot of training and I was discovered, quote unquote, as a dancer as I got older. I was just one of those people that had that body type. You know, there's a football player body type and a basketball player body type, right? Well, I had the dancer body type. I'm long, I'm sinewy. I have that. I have open hips, and I walk like a duck. My feet turn out, are used to. And in my neighborhood, I used to jump. I used to do these split leaps all like halfway down the block. I would start at my neighbor's house and jump over the fence that was on one side of the yard, the fence that was on the other side of the yard. On the other side of the driveway was a bunch of hedges. I'd jump over that and another hedgerow and another hedgerow. And I would jump and it was fun. Leaping was like
You're
my
just like,
thing.
yeah, I'm thinking like you were a grasshopper in other
Yeah.
lives. I mean, that's cool.
I love to leap. I don't know what it was and why, but I would love to run as fast as I could and just go into the air, you know?
Remember doing that when we were kids though? I mean, seriously, God,
Yeah.
I mean, exhilarating and exciting. And it's just kind of right now I'm feeling like this energetic pwing.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's
Mhm.
cool. That's awesome.
Mhm.
That is totally cool. Okay, so you're
So I
leaping.
discovered as a dancer.
Yep.
And I was immediately put into classes. And in the classes, I started TAing within a year. So being one of the substitute or fill-in teachers, assistant teachers in a year. And I just had this natural knack. And I felt finally at that time, and these are in my teenage years, I felt finally at that time that I had found a home. Right? In my early teenage years, I was the kid that never felt like he belonged. I was several years younger than my youngest sibling, my next oldest sibling. And I had blonde hair. I don't really have blonde hair now, but I had kind of blonde hair when I was a kid, and everybody else had dark hair. When I was a kid, we were at Disneyland, and somebody came up to me, and I was standing right next to my mom, and they said, "Are you okay, little boy? Are you lost?" Like I never
Oh
felt
my
like I could fit
God.
in. Yeah.
I was just getting there like, oh my God, you're just like never fitting in. Even
Yeah.
oh.
Yeah, it was kind of. I mean, it's kind of sad.
Well,
But,
I'm pouting with you for a second, only because I know this was a divine training session.
absolutely, I don't feel like that now, but that
Right.
experience of being discovered and then learning how to dance and having training and having the natural ability for it and accelerating super
Wow.
quickly, and it was like I had come home. And I didn't feel like I belonged anywhere. I also was little Billy Elliot. So my dad was a former Marine. Like he was an umpire and a mailman, and my mom was a housewife, and I was just a weirdo in my family. I still am, but in a different way. I just
Woo!
didn't
Here
fit
to
in. Yeah.
weirdos.
High
I'm
five.
like, oh my God. Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Total. Yeah, I
My
get
poor
you.
dad. I look back at my dad, my blue collar military trained, my poor dad had to deal with this dancer's son, like, poor
Hey,
guy.
I would have been thrilled. That's cool as heck, actually. I think that's
Mhm.
beautiful because you know what? At some point, man, y'all need to be tapping into your feminine side in the first place.
Right? Right?
Total.
So
Yeah.
I'm all for that. Absolutely.
I bet
And
you, and you know what? You know that no matter what, like our perception of our parents, I'm thinking that that he completely loved it because how can you not look at a child who's expressing joy and not smile in your heart? It's not possible. I think our perception of our parents makes us sometimes think we're supposed to be this thing. But
right.
I'm just feeling like how could anyone look at you leaping and not smile? I mean,
Yeah.
seriously, I just can't. Even the thought of it is like I'm smiling, going, "Oh my God, how cute
Yeah.
can you get?"
Well, my
But
parents have come a long way. I mean, they have been just so amazing in challenging their beliefs and changing and adapting and learning and loving. And my parents have just been amazing parents. I mean, it was a struggle. Don't woo, there were some really rough times, but we all came through it together, and we love each other very much. So but I was performing in a show at that time. I was doing a vaudeville show on the night that you were talking about. There was a vaudeville theater in town, and I was too young to be in the theater because I wasn't 18 yet. I was just 17, and I could perform on the stage, but there was alcohol served, so I couldn't be anywhere else in the facility. So we did our opening night performance. I got to play the horse's ass. Yes, I'm very proud of that. It was a vaudeville show, right? We had a horse costume, right? I was a horse's ass. It was amazing.
you're like
And
Diane.
so,
Okay, dude, like what was that? That must have been so much fun. I mean, but
oh, it
how
was
freaking
amazing.
I mean, I'm just honestly the first thing that's going to my mind, if that other person had gas, oh my God.
Yeah, he was
It
a
would be
very nice guy, and he never did anything like
I
that.
really I'm so grateful that there was never an accident or anything because I'm
Right?
like,
Yeah, because
you're in
that
this
could be awful.
you're in this enclosed
Yeah.
space. Oh my God. God will bless you for being the horse's ass. I love that.
It was fun.
That's so cute.
So, and that was kind of an important thing for me because my grandfather, I mean, he wasn't a performer, but my grandfather did play the banjo. And when he was younger, he would actually every now and then go and, be backup on some vaudeville circuit or something like that. He had a regular job, but I grew up with music and I grew up with my grandfather playing his banjo. And then vaudeville was just such an exciting thing. Then the connection between my grandfather doing a little bit of it, me actually being in a vaudeville show. So the cast members were all considerably older than me, and I wanted to go to the cast party. And I was your good boy. My brother, my oldest brother, he was the black sheep. But my parents were very conservative, and they said I couldn't go to the party, even though it was like 3 months away from my 18th birthday. And it was November, December, January. Yeah, 4 months away from my 18th birthday. And I obeyed. I was a good boy. And I was driving home on my Moto King, which is kind of like it's like a cross between a moped and a bicycle. It's a motorized sort of bicycle. And I was driving home on that. It was late at night. I was angry. I was super angry because I was obeying my parents and I didn't want to. I wanted to be an adult. I was almost 18. I wanted to go to this party. I never gave them reason to not trust me before. I was a good kid. I got good grades. I did what they asked me to do. I always did stuff. And I was really, really upset that they didn't trust me. It wasn't that they didn't trust me. They also didn't trust the people that I was going to. So someone came up behind me on my bike. I was in a curve. The road did an S like that. And I was approaching the curve. And as I went into the curve, there was a parked semi in front of me. And a car came behind me. And as I was trying to get around the semi in the center of that S, the car pushed my back tire. and pushed me on my bike into the park semi.
Oh,
Now,
shit.
I jumped out of my body and I got to watch the whole thing. So my body slammed into that semi truck. It bounced, the bike bounced out. I kind of hit the truck and went underneath it. But then there was a wheel rack underneath it. So I bounced off of the wheel rack. So if there wasn't a wheel rack, I might have been okay. But with the wheel rack being underneath it, I not only hit the trunk, or I mean the bumper, but I hit the wheel rack underneath. So I got to watch the whole thing, which I think was a really spiritual experience, because I didn't need, wherever I am in my evolution or the experience that I believe in past lives, the things I've done in my past lives, I didn't need to have that experience of that level of pain, of being in my body as my body was dying. I didn't need to do that. I jumped out and I watched it. I'm so grateful for that. So the car just drove away. My bike was in the middle of the street. My body was out in the middle of the street. Nobody was around. And one of my first thoughts of this experience was, what a beautiful night.
Oh, awesome.
It was a beautiful night. It was one of those like end of summer where, you know, the hot days, the cool nights, right? The sky was clear. I think it was almost a full moon, right? And I just remember having such appreciation for the beauty of that moment.
Oh my God, I love
remarkable. So the next thing that happened is I realized that I was dead, and that I'm looking down on my body. I realized that my body was really destroyed, that my legs were in weird positions and stuff like that.
I'm
I
curious.
knew.
Okay. Was there any attachment to your body at that moment? When you looked down at your body, nothing.
No, there was a knowing that that was mine. There was an awareness that I didn't want to go back in it. I absolutely knew that that body was destroyed, and I wasn't interested in going back in it. You know, I was very conscious of that, because I know you've had your accident experience, right? So all of a sudden, then I found myself, I did the traditional going down the tunnel type of thing. My tunnel was interesting because I love metaphors or ways to describe things to people, right?
Yeah.
My tunnel was like at Universal Studios back in the day. They built a $6 million man exhibit. I think it's still there. And it's the snow tunnel. It was for that TV show. And the tram goes through the tunnel. The tunnel's doing this. So the tunnel's spinning as the tram's going through it. And it's all kind of icy and white. And that was my experience. The tunnel was corkscrewing. It was doing this type of movement as I was shooting through it. So there was these multiple movements happening as I was going through it. And I ended up on the other side. Nobody was there on the other side. I was in this incredible space, this incredible place internally and externally. I felt like I was one with this space, and this space was pure love. There was nothing, no other way to describe it. It was the most blissful, lovely, joyous, connected, peaceful. There's not enough words to describe the space. And yet the space was full and empty at the same time. There was no roof and no ceiling, but I felt like I was standing on a solid surface. It was just this whiteness, and in the whiteness was every color you could imagine. So I don't know how it's like being in a prism, and it's just clear, and then all of a sudden a fraction of light gets that rainbow or something like that. The place was this beautiful, awe-inspiring. Like it literally took my breath away, and the joy that I felt was immense. But my consciousness was still present. I was very aware of where I was, what was going on. I knew I was dead. I knew I wasn't on the earthly plane anymore. And I was thinking, well, where is everybody?
Like, hey.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, hey, come on, you guys are messing up here. Because
they didn't get the memo, Peter.
Exactly.
So what the heck?
Exactly. Like I was kind of like, I wasn't perturbed or anything, but I was funny. I thought it was funny because I thought that nobody was ready, I guess, because I thought that when you died to greet you, they were all prepared, and to greet you, there'd be like a lineup. and everybody would show up, like my dead aunt and my dead dog and my great grandmother. And, you know, I thought they would all just be there, right?
Uh-huh.
And just
Uh-huh.
embracing me and loving me, and we were all good. So I was really curious, like, where is everybody? And I'm walking around the space and I'm just feeling this joy and this blissful experience. And then all of a sudden, this person shows up. And I have no idea who he is. But I turn around and see him, and I feel like my chest is cracking open and literally ripping open. Like my lung, my chest, my ribs are literally being split open and expanded. And my heart is just coming out. And I'm, you know, this it's the experience that I think you would hear nuns and priests talk about in the medieval ages, this idea of this painful ecstasy. It was so interesting. It was ecstatic and it was painful. It felt like my heart was being ripped out of me. And all this is happening while my consciousness is still going. And I'm looking at this guy and I'm feeling this thing happen in my body, and my head's thinking, who the hell is this? I don't know who that is. And the guy he was Asian. Like whoever this was, God, whoever it was, what looked like Fu Manchu for me.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
can I tell you why I'm laughing? Because my dog has Fu Manchu eyebrows, and I'm just so the instant thing all I could think of are eyebrows. I'm just thinking,
yeah,
like
exactly.
like
You know,
like
that
with
very
the whiskers and the eyebrows and the okay. So
yeah.
you're standing there at this.
And I hope that's not, gosh, you know, I'm saying that. That was my experience and my awareness. And I hope I'm not describing it in a racist way. So if I want to apologize.
Jiminy crickets. If somebody gets
But,
butthurt, I'll send them an emergency butthurt kit. Don't worry.
well,
So
I just
no,
think it's important to recognize it. But this beautiful
thank
man
you.
was there, and he had this long, wispy beard and the mustache that went into the beard. And I loved him. He was so wise and loving, and he was beautiful. And I remember even that I looked at him like when I was a kid, I remembered the Star Wars movies and the holograph of Princess Leia. He was like that holograph, Obi-Wan Kenobi, whatever it was. I could see through him, but he was solid, and he was definitely an individual, and yet he was this energy, and I could even see down to the fabric of his coat. He had a tweed coat on that, for whatever reason, I thought Hong Kong 1892. I have no idea where that date came from or what that was about or anything, but there was this beautiful man of Asian descent in front of me. I'm curious, like, I'm pretty white. I don't know what's going on here. I love him. I don't know him. He's greeting me, and he's wearing a tweed suit.
Okay.
Okay.
Wait, I'm like, okay. Possibly. That's just intriguing. I'm sitting here going, is that Lasau? Who was that?
Like Lao Tzu. That was one of my thoughts
or Lao
too.
Tzu,
Like,
that's what I'm sitting here. That's the first thing that came to me when you said that. It's like, oh my gosh, the Tao.
Is it Confucius? Like who is it?
Oh yeah. I mean, seriously, this is like fun. You could think of anyone and he was filling your heart with. He was filling the spaces. And do you think that like that moment that your heart felt like it was being pulled out, is that it was healing all the spaces inside of you that didn't feel whole?
Yes and no, because then the next thing that happened, there was a recognition of the wholeness. There absolutely was a recognition of the wholeness, and that I was him. I don't know what that there was this recognition that we were one, right?
Oh, that's beautiful.
And it, you know, it's interesting. I've always had an affinity for Asian cultures. The only thing I've ever collected was prayer deities. I could explain those to people later, but they come as a Buddhist tradition. It's the only thing I've ever collected in my life, and I collect it. When I was a little kid, I always wanted to go to Chinatown in San Francisco. I always wanted to go to the tea house at the Golden Gate Park. I was always drawn to these kind of things. So to me, it makes sense that this Lao Tzu figure shows up, even though I'm not surrounded by any Asian people, really. You know, there's a few kids I went to school with, but that was about it, and not in my family. And when I see this Lao or whoever he is, and I'm with him, and my heart's being ripped out, and I'm being filled with love, he says to me, "You're not supposed to be here." And I start to get confused, and my human emotions start to come in, and I start to get very angry because being in this place felt similar to that experience of dancing, where I felt like I belonged. Being on the other side, wow, that just felt this oneness, this connection, this bliss, this joy, you know, being told, hearing that I'm not supposed to be there, started to bring back my anger as a human.
Interesting. You could feel that emotion even though you weren't in your body and spirit, because that's quite, so you still had the ego attachment then.
Well, I'd only been there for a short time.
Yeah. So, well, yeah, because I'm like, wow. So it doesn't leave like right away.
I don't know.
We
And
still have,
I
yeah,
like
that's
this.
cool.
It is cool, and I like
It
this part of the
is.
story because people often say to me that things are they have this predetermined idea. Everything's going to happen. It's all unfolding the way it's supposed to. That type of thing. It's exactly. There's this idea in a lot of the spiritual world that people kind of look at things as being predetermined. They do this type of thing where it was meant to be. And, it's good to look back at life and say, after a horrible thing happens or whatever, and be able to say it was meant to be. It gives people a little bit experience of calm or, faith and that type of thing. For me, I don't know if it was meant to be. It was definitely a path of mine. It was definitely something that spirit held me through. But if we truly have free will, I don't know if it was meant to be. It might have been meant to be that I become a healer and not a dancer. It might have been meant to be those things, but the way it happened, I think that we live in this universe that is chaos, always finding order. And if there is free will, then
Wow.
there can be mistakes. And it was a mistake, I think, for me to be there. It was not my time, and nobody was ready for me. And they were surprised. This guy was genuinely surprised, was the feeling I had from him. Like, wait a minute, you're not supposed to be here yet. What are you doing? Right?
Well, what's interesting, I wonder, I want to go and touch on that. Like, it was meant to be versus I'm with you. I think everything's just divinely by design.
Mhm. Yeah,
That's
I agree. I think that we're all moving as this mass of humanity and consciousness. We
yeah.
are all moving towards the divine. But our path getting there, we have free will. So although we're going to be pulled to the divine, we can go off sideways. We can take a tangent. We can have an accident. we can bump into other people and have things happen. Overall, human consciousness, I believe, is moving towards the divine. But in that process of getting there, we bump into each other and accidents happen.
Yeah, it's like weeble wobbles, but they don't fall down. Pew,
Exactly.
pew, pew. Yes, we do. Totally. Okay, I love that. I want to recognize the audience just for a second there. Peter, while we take a little sip, good morning to Prince Fleet Easton. Prince Fleet Easton lives out there in the Palm Springs area, and Fleet is saying that he had the same experience.
Cool.
I wanted to stay and was told it wasn't my time. Had to go back.
Oh my God, Prince. Absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
you two live right down the street from each other, by the way. He's right about the feeling of total bliss and a feeling you can't express or describe.
Oh my
Beautiful.
God, Rebecca Rizzo is on too. Rebecca, I love you.
Hi, Rebecca. Hi, Rebecca. And our friend Joe Sliker is on. Thank you. And hi, Robert. How are you
Hi,
doing?
Joe.
And anybody else, if you have whoever, if you've got any questions or if anything's coming up for you, please do comment because this is really fascinating. And in just a few minutes here, we're going to do a shift in to how how you went from being a dancer and this experience into being a healer. And this is awesome and fascinating. And we love Rebecca. Okay. And y'all both know Rebecca. This is hi,
Oh,
Rebecca.
how great. Prince
Oh,
and Rebecca. Oh, small world.
this is hilarious. And I love this because this is one of those divinely guided moments in life, because Fleet is an outstanding performer. He's got a gorgeous star in Palm Springs, and he is just one of my favorite best buddies in the world. And I love you, Fleety. So anyway, y'all are going to be hanging out. That's all I know. Y'all see how this happens? We do what we do, and then we connect. All of us are connected. Let's go back to that. Oh my God, you're
Yeah.
looking at your buddy, all right, and
Yeah.
and and
My
and
anger comes up.
and your anger comes up. But first, before your anger came up, you said you knew that you were him and he
Mhm,
was you.
mhm.
Well, that is profound.
It is, you're right.
That's
I don't know
beautiful.
what to do with that, but yes.
What do you,
Like
well, because that means that you are me and I am you.
yes, absolutely.
And Fleety, you are me and I am you and everyone on here. You guys, this is like, to me, this is one of the most important things this is just brilliant. You've said a lot of brilliant stuff, by the way. We got to go back and get some of those pieces out because, oh my God. Um, all right. So your anger comes back and
Yeah.
let's
So
go.
like Fleet, I was told that it wasn't my time. My
Uh,
anger came back and I literally I don't want to say the word, but I said F you to this guy and
yeah, yeah.
I literally flipped him off.
No shit.
So to God, as he showed himself to me or divine or whatever, I literally
Dude dies
said,
and he flips off God. What
I did.
the hell? Fuck you, God. I'm just not about that right now. I mean,
I was
Jesus.
pissed.
You are
I was
so
pissed. I was
awesome
getting kicked out of Bliss. I was
and
getting kicked out of the
mad
most,
as hell.
right? And I knew that going back there and to that body and to that
Yeah.
life was what I did not want.
Oh, bless your heart.
Yeah. So I did that, and the next second I was back in the world. I wasn't in my body. I was
Okay.
back at the accident scene. And I was watching the the paramedics show up. And I was watching the one guy come to my body, the other one open the back of the ambulance, pull out the gurney, and the guy that was above me was looking for vital signs. Right, like in his face, he was an African American man, and he was really big, and he was like his body covered mine. I was this tiny thing, and I then had a memory of jumping back in my body and opening my eyes, and he was like a cat. He was like Tigger. He went bang. I scared the shit out of him, I'm sure.
Oh my gosh. So what did it feel like to go back into your body?
I didn't have any feeling back in my body at that time. I jumped back in my body, and I had a purpose. I wanted to tell him how to take care of me. And I told him that my insurance card was in my back pocket. And then I was out of my body again. And I watched them put my body on the gurney, put the gurney in the truck, close the doors, and drive away. And as they're driving away, I'm saying to myself, I'm not going in there.
You're
I'm
still
not going in there.
determined. You're still determined you're not getting back in that body.
Nope. I'm not, and I'm thinking to myself, that life sucked. That
Oh,
life, I
yeah.
loved being a dancer, but I never felt like I belonged. And the one thing that I loved, I knew that I could no longer do. I was very conscious that that body was no longer going to be able to do the one thing that stopped me as a kid from killing myself. So that one
Hmm.
thing I knew I would never be able to do again if I got back in that body. And I remember consciously thinking to myself, oh, I guess this is how ghosts are made.
Oh my God. Yeah, right. This is true.
right?
Probably,
Because
yeah.
my body's over there and I'm over here and I don't want to go back in it. And so I guess that my consciousness is just going to float around. Then some time goes by, and the next memory, conscious memory that I have is I open my eyes and I look up at the ceiling, and it's one of those awful, ugly institutional hospital drop ceilings. And I am so depressed that I'm not in heaven or wherever it was anymore.
Oh,
And so that was my experience of getting back into my body. I don't know what happened from that moment of the ambulance driving away. I don't know if I like if somebody came to convince me I needed to go back in it or whatever. I just remember opening my eyes and being so depressed that I was alive.
wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Okay, so that's intense. It was that blissful, was it?
Oh, the contrast, it was incredible. There's a researcher on near-death experiences. I forget her name, but she has compiled so many stories of children. I mean, I wasn't exactly an adult. I wasn't a child, I was a teenager. But people who have near-death experiences generally be under their 18th age. So it could be 20, but whatever, under the 18-year-old age. They have, and I had this, they have a draw to constantly want to go back to the candy shop. And so
Okay.
they want to go back to that experience of that peacefulness, of that bliss, of that feeling absolutely unconditionally loved. Yes, Kathy Mason just did PMH Atwater. That's her name. She is amazing. If anybody really wants to understand some a past life type of thing, near death experience things, PMH, she's a lovely woman. She's so interesting and her work is fascinating. I've met her a few times. So I had coming back into my body. Yes, there's all kinds of other things, but for those decades afterwards, all the way through my 20s into my early 30s, there was this draw to go back. And I had many experiences that happened that I could have. There were several, I dehydrated severely. I was hospitalized. I had lots of other disease experiences, stuff like that. The door was opening. And even though I wanted to walk through that door, I felt that I couldn't. And so I stayed, but I was incredibly depressed. I was incredibly anxious and depressed. And I
Mm.
had to heal myself of all of these things, right? I shattered my left leg. I split my right wrist open. I lost all the nerves in this hand. I cracked 5 vertebrae, had undiagnosed brain damage. And then from that moment, there was what I describe as my cascade of pain. I had to learn how to walk again. I lost my identity. I didn't know how to live in the world. I lost my voice because my voice was performing and it was dance. And that's how I knew to communicate and express myself. And I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't do that anymore. I had anxiety and depression and fibromyalgia. Like I said, I was in chronic pain. I developed arthritis at a very early age.
Yeah.
I had my white blood cells at one point were killing my red blood cells. My hemoglobin was splitting and shutting down my organs. That severe dehydration issue, all types of things, just one thing after another thing after another thing. And I was just in incredible amounts of pain. I didn't know how to heal myself. At that time, I'm obviously older. I know it doesn't look like it, but there weren't
No.
the opportunities of like a chiropractor on every corner, or a healer, or Reiki master.
Yeah.
There weren't those things. So I'm in my 50s now. So this was a long time ago. And none of that was accessible to me. The only thing that was accessible to me were the doctors kept giving me drugs and they
Mm-hmm.
kept offering me more surgeries. And I just didn't want any of those things.
Yeah,
I
I'm
just
gonna say
didn't want.
I'm the same age, and yep, I'm right there with you on on that. And I resonate with a lot of this, and I know a lot of you do. If you've ever been through a lot of stuff, a lot of this I resonate with. And So let's get into how did you, this is where y'all are going to like get excited now. Not only are we going to get into all of the great things that Peter has learned, but the process he went through to heal his own body and the class he's getting ready to give to teach y'all how to do this. So you're going to love this. Let's do it.
You're awesome. I love your energy. So I had to heal myself. I was kind of on my own. The doctors were fed up with me. They really didn't know what to do with me. They didn't have anything else to offer. And when they would say, well, this drug might work or this surgery might help, I just wasn't interested in it. I already had one major surgery, which was amazing. The medical people were incredible about putting my bones back together. They didn't know what to do with all the cracked bones. They didn't know what to do with all the pain. They didn't know what to do with all the blood issues and all the other issues. But they didn't know what to do with my broken heart. But they were fantastic at putting my knee back together. They flew in 14 surgeons from the NFL to actually witness a groundbreaking surgery to put my knee back together. And I am so grateful for that. But after that, I was on my own. And I just stumbled from one healer to another. Somebody would say, hey, I tried this thing. And I'd be like, okay. And every paycheck I had basically went into healing myself. Every dollar I had, it was in survival mode for decades. And I just did anything I could. And I started to film it and I started to put that up on YouTube. So I would sit down with the healer and I would have them tell me what they're going to do and why they do it. And then they would show it to me. They would do it on me. And I started to discover that if I was going to heal, I had to recognize that my healing needed to be on all the levels of the wound. So that wound that I had was physical in my body, but it was spiritual in my heart. Yeah. I felt like heaven had kicked me out. I felt like I had been rejected. I felt unworthy. I felt unloved. I didn't know who I was anymore. My head was in an absolute panic before I knew what my life path was. After that accident, I didn't know who I was anymore. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know a purpose. I didn't have a purpose. I didn't know where to go. And so I had to heal my body constantly, but I had to heal my heart and I had to heal my obsessive, compulsive, addictive brain. And so I started to understand that all these wounds that we go through have these elements to it, have these multiple elements. You know, now when I work with my professional football players, one will come in with a broken knee and I'm like, hey, dude, I get it, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, how's your heart doing? And nobody asked them that because these guys were like me. Their passion, their love, how they know how to be in the world, how they know how to move, talk, speak through life is potentially gone. They may never be able to play ball again. And then their heads in a panic because, you know, they just bought that $14 million house and they have a $250 million contract, but what's going to happen to it? What's going to happen to the team, right? That mental anguish, that absolute panic, right? So I started to understand that the healing work I needed to do on myself needed to address each of these levels of me. And when I did them, when I came up with an answer, right, with a request to do some physical work, do some mental work, do some spiritual work, I started doing them at the same time. Like the same day I would schedule appointments. I would do some body work and then I would do some prayer meditation work. And then maybe I would go do something else, right? And I started to notice that accelerated my healing. I also started to go, okay, if I'm going to heal these things, then I need to know what to do. And I don't know what to do as an individual, but my body, my consciousness does. And so a friend of mine told me I teach people who's a medical intuitive. She told me I teach people how to be a medical intuitive. I started going to the part that was suffering, kind of like that 17-year-old rebel that everybody's telling her or him how to fix the problem, right? The principal's wagging his finger. You have to fix the problem and do this. The parents, the family members, the, people in school, their siblings, whatever. Do you have to fix this, right? But nobody bothers to go to this rebel and say to her, hey, how do you want to fix this? And we do that consciously to ourselves. We go to ourselves. Like, let's just say it's weight loss and we want to lose weight. We go to ourselves and we say, you're going to diet and exercise, and that's how you're going to fix the problem. right? And our body's like, well, okay, I guess. But if it's not really addressing, if it's not addressing the issue of why there is the weight and the heart issue of how that weight may be serving us, then it doesn't matter how much we diet and exercise. So we may be creating a change physically, but we're not doing it mentally and we're not doing it physically, spiritually. And if two sides against one, those two are going to win.
Total.
And so we have to go to the inside. So I teach people how to go inside, how to speak with their bodies, how to listen to these parts that are suffering, whether it's anxiety or addiction or cancer and tumors. And we start loving these parts of us. I know it feels weird to say that to a lot of people. My cancer clients, for a while, I worked with lots of cancer clients. I don't have really any right now, but I did. And they taught me something really important. And that was that they taught me that they needed to love their tumor. It was the part of them that's suffering. And most of us are angry at it, embarrassed of it, ashamed of it. We want to throw it away, cut it out, drug it, poison it. We're resentful of it, right? And we are treating this part of us abusively. So much so if we were doing that to another individual, we would get a restraining order. Right? We abuse ourselves and these parts of ourselves. And they taught me that this part that's suffering really needs to be loved. So let's go to this part. Let's actually love it. Let's connect with it. Let's ask it what it needs. And let's understand that needing on all of these levels of who we are, mentally, physically, spiritually. And now let's create an individualized recipe for the individual to actually do their healing. And so that's when I have to step back. Like my ego, my holistic ideas, my preferences, all that type of stuff. And I have to completely remove myself and just be a facilitator, where I'm facilitating that person and getting the answers that are right for them. Because maybe the answer for them is allopathic. Maybe it is a surgery. Maybe it is a medication. If God is everywhere, then why can't God be found in a medication?
Right? That's kind of a good point there. I never really thought about that. So you did go through you went through hypnosis training.
Yeah.
Big time.
So I was going to be an MFT, and then I didn't like the training. I've gone through traditional psychotherapy, and it's not bad. I work with a lot of psychotherapists. It just didn't work for me. The idea of I had people I would talk about what I was going through with, and I didn't feel like I got the healing, the information that I needed. And so I decided to get a master's degree in quantum theory and theology. It's called consciousness studies. It's a science and religion degree. So I loved it. I got to study the Bhagavad Gita, and I got to study Zoroastrianism and Buddhism, and I studied Hindu, all kinds of things. And then I studied string theory and cosmology and stuff like that. It was just an amazing experience. While I was doing my master's program, I also did 1.5 years training in hypnosis. In my hypnosis work, I became certified as an NLP practitioner. I did guided imagery. I became a medical hypnotherapist, right? I did all these types of things. It was this really intense period. And I've done lots of other training, but in these years, I had to do so many hours, actually clinical hours, not like being a psychotherapist, but I had this wonderful experience of writing my thesis, working through these things, creating, learning and growing. And so I started to do this work on myself prior to, and then it kind of became codified in my master's program. And then it just took off from there. And so I started doing this work on myself, sharing it with my clients, and then empowering my clients. So as a therapist, I work with people for maybe 6 to 12 weeks on average, right? I'm not the guy that you're going to come to see for the next 2-3 years. I have people now I've seen in my practice for over a decade, but I may not see them for 3 years. We come, we work on a problem, something that got stuck, whether it's emotional, physical, or spiritual. We work through these issues. I teach them processes. I hold their hand. I even like to say I don't really help people anymore. I give them tools and I hold their hand, right? And so the Convergence Healing process turned into a book with Simon and Schuster. I just got one right there. So yeah.
Okay, guys, listen. Now we're going to get into it. Ready? Okay, so that's his book. And what we have coming for y'all is this. So this is a live book study with Peter. Okay. And it's going to start Thursdays in June from 6 to 7. And his book is right there. Hold your book up again.
Ta-da, right
If you go to
there.
that website right there floating across the screen, and you can get more information. So this is exciting. Let's talk about this book and
Yeah.
what this class is going to be, and how that people can book with you privately, which I'm imagining is just going to the website.
Yep.
But really, what's going to happen in this class over 8 weeks?
So I'm thrilled to do it. This has become part of my life purpose, my divine purpose, right? This book, I wrote it, got somebody to help me write a book. And that's why I wanted to give them credit. I didn't want to say get somebody like a ghostwriter. I wanted to give them credit. I came in, I wrote the whole book, and he crafted it into a professional form, because I hadn't been a writer before that. I learned so much in that process, and now I have like 4 or 5 books. So Brian actually really helped me put this book together, and it was part of my divine purpose, because the moment I self-published the book, we had to take it down, and it was bought by Simon and Schuster.
Nice.
So it just went out into the world.
Isn't that
And so
another divine, just a divine order? It's like
yeah,
this, everything's just the way it's supposed to be, period. I mean, that's an extraordinary moment right here, that you went forward with your purpose, wrote your book, put it out there, pulled it, and have Simon and Schuster publish it. Congratulations, by the way, because that's
yeah.
awesome,
Thank you.
dude.
It's
That's
just
like seriously
amazing.
killer, man. That's rock star.
Yeah.
And now you're gonna, okay. So let's go into, you're gonna be helping people through. What's in your book? Tell me why
Sure.
do I want to buy your book there, Peter? Tell me,
So the
tell me, tell
book
me.
is actually available as a paperback, like you just saw. It's also available in Kindle, so it's available as a digital, and it's also available as an audiobook. I wanted to record it as an audiobook because oftentimes people are in so much pain. Again, whether it's mental, physical, or spiritual, they're in an incredible amount of pain, and reading is something that just isn't doable. So I
Okay.
created it as an audiobook too, so it's accessible to people. So the book takes you through some of that, being slammed in a semi truck and dying, and that experience, and having to heal myself, and going through this process of learning and growing, and learning this convergence healing gift that was really divinely, I believe, downloaded, divinely given to me. And I was learning it on myself, and then teaching clients how to do this work and their stories of healing. So that's the book itself. It's hands-on, it's doable, it's simple. It's about connecting with the part of us that's suffering, again, mental, physical, or spiritual. And so many people in our country, in this Western world that we live in, they ignore the mental and the spiritual side of healing. And again, I'm not talking religion. When I speak spirit, I'm speaking connection and oneness and tuning in the heart and stuff like that. I'm not talking dogma and a particular religion. So
Mm-hmm.
I've worked with people, devout Jews, devout Catholics. I've worked with devout Muslims, people from all over the world. And again, that's where I back off on my filter, because it's their experience. I'm simply holding their hand. And that's what we're going to be doing in these weeks with the book study. We're going to be working through parts of the book. I always like to teach hand on, even when I do my book tours and I go speak someplace.
Mm-hmm.
I don't just talk about the book or read from the book. I actually do a workshop. And I pull people up, and we're going to experience things, and I'm going to give them tools. We're going to go through processes. And so it's accessible and doable. That's super important to me. I've read so many self-help books that I put them down and I never do anything from them, right? Where I wanted mine and the classes and workshops I do to be applicable. I want people to walk away knowing how to do something. And so
Nice.
that's that convergence healing process. And they're going to get that online in the book study.
Wow, this is amazing. Seriously. I'm so excited about this. Y'all, could you imagine? Not only that, but they get you, which is pretty cool. I mean, let's just face it, y'all. I mean, to be able to sit with you and really work with you one on one, I mean, that's an extraordinary thing. Period.
Yeah.
And do you do you take people through hypnosis now?
Sure. So hypnosis has become part of my process, but it's not the process. People classify me as a hypnotherapist because they can kind of wrap their brain around that and they don't know what convergence healing is. If I
Mhm.
could, I would say I'm a convergence healing practitioner. That's what I do.
Okay.
Right? But it creates too many questions in people's minds, right? And they can't relate to it. So hypnosis is part of what I do. We use these tools of hypnosis. So we do some spiritual counseling, maybe some guided imagery. We use this medical intuitive processes. We do these types of things as a way to build a relationship with the parts of us that are suffering. And we
Wow.
use these tools to learn how to listen to those parts. So many
Mhm.
times we don't know how to listen to ourselves. And when we learn how to listen and we learn how to be tuned into that guidance that comes, I've been doing this almost 18 years now. That guidance has never once not come. It may not come in the moment when I'm holding somebody's hand, like they're in session with me, but it will come in the evening. It will come later on in the day. It will come when they're taking that shower and they kind of go, oh, aha, right? I know what I need to do next,
Yep.
right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And so these skills we hone and we practice. So that's a big part of the process. And to be able to work with me, I mean, my rates are actually very reasonable. I know people that charge many hundreds of dollars to do work that this is my ego that isn't as good as mine.
Well, I love that. Well, because Peter, if you don't believe in it like that
Oh
strongly,
yeah,
then so that's
absolutely.
and okay, hot diggity. Okay.
I'm very worth the money that people spend. And to do this workshop in a group setting and still be able to get a lot of individualized attention is a bargain. I mean, I've consulted at Stanford University, I've keynote spoke all over the world, right? I've taught workshops in many different countries, that type of thing. So this I really want people to do this. This is a way to work with me that is super, super affordable and attainable.
It really is. How much is it?
It's just $97.
$97 for $97 for 8 weeks with you?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, $97 for 8 weeks. Hello,
Mhm.
get it together. Let's go. Let's go. Let's join.
I
I
actually think it might be 4 weeks, but I'm not sure. For
oops.
some reason, I don't know if it's
Why
eight.
did
But
I say 8? Well, you know
but
what? Y'all don't hold me to it. How about that? I just backed off. So, for
yeah,
some reason, I had 8 in my head. Well, maybe that's because you're gonna do an 8-week one afterwards. That's what I'm getting.
maybe who
It
knows?
it 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 could Are you training practitioners now?
I have. So yeah, I have trained practitioners. I in my profession we have conferences and different things that we do and the different trainings that I have and going and oftentimes other therapists pick up my book and they use it as one of their tools. And so I teach
Yep.
them how to use this stuff and we all want to help. And if what we're doing isn't working for someone, then I often refer out or I pull out another tool, right? I
Yep.
pull out another tool that I have and I work with that person. I'm really big on making the pie bigger though. And so I often, again, they talking to the part and saying to the part, what do you need in order to heal physically, mentally, spiritually? I may be part of that spiritual part. I may be part of the mental part, but they may need somebody that's going to work with them on that physical part. They may need a coach in some other area. They may need to have something else. Right. And so that's part of why I call my practice a convergence because I'm
Mhm.
not a one stop shop. I don't want to be a one stop shop. And I believe that when two or more are gathered together, there's the divine. And when we're bringing a team of people to work with an individual, we are all creating an energy that cannot be denied.
Whew. Beautiful. I love this. So, thank you very much for being here today, Peter. What an amazing story. And What an opportunity for everybody to work with Peter. So I want to show you all something really quickly here. I'm going to come back up. Hi,
Hey.
I'm back.
You're
So
not so little. I can see you better.
I'm not so little. Well, they need to see you, not me.
All
They
right.
see
All
me
right.
all the time. So, y'all, this is James Twyman. He's on the cover of this month's Grateful Living edition, which is just now being released. And guess who's inside? Peter. So there's a beautiful article inside, as well as how to join this wonderful class that's coming up, which is super duper exciting. So again, Peter, thank you so much for being here today. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Thank you.
Debbie, I'm so grateful and blessed for the experience. I really appreciate it. And to have this opportunity to follow my passion and to share my joy and then to reach out to more people. And that is just that, I told two friends and they told two friends, that type of thing. We can heal. And so many of us are in the mindset that it's not possible. We have whatever it is and we're stuck with it. And it's always going to be that way. And I don't agree with that. I was able to heal. I'm not the exception. I'm the rule. And if I can do it, so can you.
Hope you guys just caught that one because that rocked. And I love that. Thank you. I want to just give a quick shout out to all of you that are on the replay or watching now. Tonight, I have Billy Hayes he was the person the movie The Midnight Express was made after by Oliver Stone that won Oscars. So tonight we will be having a interesting conversation at 6 p.m. Pacific time with the Billy Hayes, which should be very interesting for certain. So I just wanted to give that a quick reminder just so that you all remember this, and I'll just bring this up. I'm not going to bring it up because I put it into my background. Never mind. All right, guys, I love you. Peace out and have a day full of positive momentum and gratitude moments. And remember, who are you grateful for?